I want to welcome you to the Berks County Board of Commissioners meeting for August the 13th of 2020. Just a reminder, if you have comments on specific agenda items, please post those comments now. We must have your name, first and last name, the municipality where you reside, and the comment on the agenda has to be specific to a particular agenda item. If you're on Facebook or YouTube Live, you can simply post that in the comments area. We have staff that will pull that and post that to Microsoft Teams Live Q&A. So any comments are posted there. If you have general comments, you can post those comments. Everyone's limited to one comment. And again, your first and last name, municipality where you reside. With that, we will move into our program. And as always, we're going to begin with a moment of silence followed by a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions or corrections for the August 4th, 2020 operations meeting minutes and the August 6th, 2020 commissioner meeting minutes and the August 11th, 2020 operation meeting minutes?
Commissioner Leinbach, I apologize for doing this. I did not get to see the minutes.
Okay. So would you like to put these off till next week?
I think that's appropriate. I didn't get to review them.
That's absolutely fine. Mary Jo Gibson, if you can make a note for the record that we are not approving August 4th, August 6th, August 11th, and we will incorporate these into next week's commissioners meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for the heads up. We also held 3 executive sessions, one on August the 6th, dealing with personnel and litigation, one on August the 7th, dealing with personnel and union negotiations, and one on August the 12th with litigation. Is there any public comment on specific agenda items?
No, I do not believe there is.
I'm looking as well. I know last week we missed one. It must have popped in right after we went into the agenda. So yeah, I don't see anything either. We'll move into the agenda. Item 1, authorizing. Under that, the Budget Department adopt a resolution authorizing 2020 budget transfers in the amount of $104,174 and 2020 appropriations in the amount of $481,212 per listing dated August the 11th of 2020. We have several items under Human Resources. Item 1, authorize the appointment of Timothy Shea to Developer Analyst in Information Systems. Item 2, authorize the appointment of Heather Maselli to Human Resources Generalist Trainer in Human Resources. Item 3, authorize the promotion of Carmen Colazo Rosario from Human Resource Assistant to Human Resource Generalist in Human Resources. And 4, authorize the transfer of Kelly Haldeman from Human Resources Generalist to Human Resources Assistant. We have several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution amending another resolution to include a REACT testing one-time setup fee of $150 for the ergometrics licensing agreement. Item B, adopt a resolution of the Berks County Board of Commissioners declaring an emergency to exist due to rapid deterioration and expansion of a sinkhole at the Berks County Agricultural Center, Bern Township, thereby requiring immediate removal and replacement of the storm pipe and sinkhole repair, and further accepting and authorizing execution of the proposal dated August the 6th of 2020 from Irish Creek Excavating, Inc., Mooresville, PA, and the issuance of a purchase order to perform said emergency services at a not to exceed amount of $40,000. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute an amendment to the bridge transfer agreement between the County of Berks and Muhlenberg, restructuring the transfer agreement with Muhlenberg Township to remove a commitment of $250,000 that was to be used for a separate project by the township and apply those funds to the Ebling Bridge project to be applied to the cost of relocating sanitary sewer and water lines owned by Muhlenberg Township Authority. The agreement will allow the bridge to be reconstructed, including these utility relocations, at no cost to either Muhlenberg Township or the Muhlenberg Township Authority. At the completion of the project, bridge ownership will be transferred to Muhlenberg Township. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the Berksheim Nursing and Rehabilitation Open Employment and Volunteer Policy, the Equal Opportunity for Staff Development, and the Open Admissions Policy Statement in accordance with the provisions of the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair of the Memorandum of Understanding between the County of Berks and the City of Reading for allocation of $10,161 from the 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. This is an annual grant applied for by the City of Reading and shared with the Berks County District Attorney's Office, and will be used to pay for a software license renewal and for payment of overtime and travel expenses. Item F, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute a change order dated August the 4th of 2020 to a contract with Construction Master Services, LLC, Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania, for the county facilities parking lot improvement project. This change order adds parking lot improvements and paving for the parking lot and driveway areas identified at the Berks County Youth and Recreational Facility at a not to exceed cost of $225,793.24. Item G, adopt a resolution authorizing Brian Gottschall, Director of Berks County Emergency Services Department, to execute on behalf of the County of Berks all documents required for the procurement of 3 million. It's 3 million, right? Mary Jo, is that 3 million?
3M. I believe it's the
Or
3M brand.
It's 3M as in 3M, the manufacturer?
Yeah, that's how it came through. I believe that is.
Okay.
I don't think
I wasn't sure. I thought I'd stop. When I went through it the first time, I thought it was a quantity.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so it's
I can double check on that.
3M is a manufacturer. They may be one of the primary manufacturers of N95. So that's what we'll go with. The procurement of 3M N95 respirators, subject to final review and approval by the County Solicitor's Office. Item H, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the agreement for conveyance of public safety radio equipment between the County of Berks and Central Susquehanna Regional 911 System, Selinsgrove, PA, to convey 3 Motorola 7500 voice processing modules in an as-is condition to the CSR 911 to be used for CSR 911 public safety operations. Item I, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the second amendment to the county application for GEMS program funds, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of State, for reimbursement in the amount of $60,205 for the purchase of an additional DS-450 high-speed scanner to assist with scanning ballots. Item J, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the user license agreement for online weapons permit application between the County of Berks on behalf of the Berks County Sheriff's Office and Permitium LLC, Pineville, North Carolina, to provide an online gun permit processing, including staff training, ongoing support, hosting, and management of the Permitium Solution Program, effective August the 15th of 2020 through August the 14th of 2021. Item K, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the mutual non-disclosure agreement between D2X Change LLC and the County of Berks, who will obtain pricing on services for end-of-year payroll processing. Item 2, a motion authorizing execution of contract agreements and amendments is furnished by the contract coordinator as set forth on the attached listing dated August the 11th of 2020. There are a total of 3 contracts, one with CareerLink, one with the Sheriff's Department, and one with the Public Defender. And then item 3, a motion to ratify and confirm payments as set forth on the Controller's Office voucher listing dated August the 11th of 2020 for the week ending August the 11th of 2020, and the payment of electronic transfers and employee payroll.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? And just for the record again, we have not approved the minutes from prior meetings. That will be moved till next week. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. With that, we will move to our County Treasurer, Dennis Adams, for the Treasurer's Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have an opening balance today of $225,086,738.82. A balance to clear of $4,724,907.94, leaving us with a balance of $220,361,830.88.
Thank you very much, Dennis. We'll move now to our County Controller, Sandy Graffius, with the Controller's Report.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our accounts payable this week is $6,625,523.77, and there was no payroll.
Very good. We'll turn now to our Chief Administrative Officer, Ron Seaman, for his report.
Thank you, Commissioner. There is nothing to report at this time.
Thank you very much. That quickly, we are to Commissioner's reports. Commissioner Kevin Barnhart, you're up.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and everyone who has joined us this morning. I want to refer back to 279.2020, the transfer of the Ebling Memorial Bridge to Muhlenberg Township. Again, I want to publicly thank Muhlenberg Township and the Muhlenberg Township Municipal Authority for working with the county. A couple of years ago, we had incentivized money to the township for the intersection where now the Chick-fil-A is on 5th Street Highway to kind of correct that intersection. They were notified by PennDOT that they would not be able to make any changes to that intersection. So we're thankfully pulling that money from that project and using it, at least a large portion of it, to relocate the sewer and water lines at Evelyn's Memorial Bridge. So then at the end of all the replacement of the bridge will then be turned over to Muhlenberg Township. Again, that's a real partnership with us and another one of our friendly municipalities in Berks County. So thank you to them. I can't say thank you enough. We turned that around in like 2 days. There was some conversation and boom, it was done. Good work. Contact tracing update for the week. There are 651 contacts in the database. 67 have refused contact tracing. That's 10%. There's been a fair amount of refusals because of the delay in the positives when folks are tested. There's 92 new contacts for this past week, and that's a 16.4% increase in the past week. The one large exposure not included in these numbers was reported yesterday at a daycare center. And last but not least, there's been circulating around this scam that people are scamming people with respect to posing as contact tracers. So far, knock on wood, the folks that Cal County Wellness has contacted have not been scammed by these calls, but want to make sure the public's aware that there's some bad information out there that's being passed around, just like so many other things that happen in our society. When the chips are down, real jerks come out of the woodwork and make things much more difficult for people to do their jobs. So just wanted to point that out. CARES Act, the allocation to the county, we're having a deep dive discussion with Helping Harvest yesterday. So I'm hoping to have a recommendation back to our board next week as to what, if any, allocation we will take from the CARES Act money to support Helping Harvest and their efforts. Part of the vaccine, if and when we do have a vaccine, we're going to set aside additional money that we would have earmarked for the county to support those efforts, not to purchase the vaccine, but for dispensing purposes. And we also agreed, for those people that were not on the Tuesday budget ops call, a additional round of money for our small businesses, which will begin the end of August. This will expand a little bit. This will include businesses up to $3 million in gross revenue. The other two programs thus far have capped it at businesses with gross revenue of $1 million. And we've set aside, at this point, $6 million for that effort. I'm sure Commissioner Rivera will have more to say about that. Census 2020, as I think I said last week, we've been cut back 1 full month. Originally, it was supposed to be October 31st. Now everything has to be in by the end of September. One good piece of information we have heard, and it's not been verified yet, that the Census Bureau may be mailing out additional questionnaires to the people who have yet to respond, either in writing or on the mail. And our weekly update this coming Wednesday will be focused on the census. Just some real quick global numbers. The national response rate is 63.4%. Pennsylvania is 66.4. Berks County is 71.7. Thank you, Berks County. Reading is at 50.3. So all of our efforts in the last several months have been focusing on Reading. They're going to have additional census days. They're going to really focus on the high rises. And we've been doing texting through our budget to try to get people to respond to the census. So that's ongoing efforts there. That's what I have so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll turn to Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. Just have a few things I want to remind I've been going over for the last few weeks. One is the Rebuild Berks program, which is a program put together with the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance to help our businesses locally here grow and our economy get back on its feet again. So please visit rebuildberks.com. If you know a local business owner, please ask them to visit. And Rebuild Berks is not only for business owners, but it's for the public in general as well. You can go on to Rebuild Berks, and there's a place there where you can go and check out the local businesses in the area, find out what they sell, when they're open, because what we're asking behind Rebuild Berks is to, among other things, buy locally rather than going online and buying from other places in the United States or other places in the world. Spend your money locally. Businesses here that are local to Berks County where the owners, play baseball or softball with you, or their kids go to school with your kids. So we're asking people to support the local Berks economy by buying local, and you can get it, and there's information on Rebuild Berks around that. You can also have a business highlighted on rebuildberks.com, and if you go to rebuildberks.com, it'll tell you how to do that. And part of rebuildberks.com is, as Commissioner Barnhart had said, I guess in this case, the third type of grant that's available out there. We're still having meetings this week yet, so by next Thursday, I should have all the final details on that program. So please stay in tune for that. But if you are a small business and you're still looking for assistance, there's the Small Business Restart Grant Program, and that's for businesses with 2 to 8 employees under $1 million in revenue and outside the city of Reading limits. Also remember, there are the rental assistance programs and mortgage assistance programs that are available through PHFA, and that's phfa.org. You can get information there. If it's rental assistance, you can get it through PHFA. You can also go to Berks Coalition to End Homelessness as well. There's more information on all of these programs at doyourpartberks.com. Again, the details on these programs are in doyourpartberks.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera and Commissioner Barnhart. I want to touch on several items. Let me start by bringing up, give me a second here, wrong item. Try to bring it up anyhow, 1 second. Here we go. The first thing I want to go over is the current status of the early warning dashboard for Berks County. This was last updated last Friday afternoon, and the data is through Thursday, August the 6th. In the top area, there's some good news for the county. The reported cases in the most recent 7 days are trending down. The incident rate per 100,000 are trending down. The PCR, or the positivity rate, is trending down. However, the bottom 3 items are all going up. We need to keep an eye on those. Daily hospitalizations over the last 7 days, or the 7 days leading and including August the 6th, averaged at 6.3. Ventilators went up. It's less than 1/2 of one per day, but nonetheless, and a slight increase in the emergency department visits. I also want to take a minute to highlight a website. I've posted this. This is a very fascinating study out of Duke University for those that are looking for a very detailed study on whether or not masks work. And the idea is work to protect other people. You can read this on your own. I'm going to post the this page on our public announcement area, but I want to take you down to a chart. Hopefully this will come up and I will be able to select it. Just hang on. And then again, maybe not. No, it's not going to let me share. Oh, there it is, actually. Take it back. This shows all the different types of masks and the relative droplet count. So this is a fitted N95. It's very interesting, and I've been told this, but this is the first study where I've seen it. A surgical mask is almost as good as a fitted 95. And you can see the different types in here, a poly, cotton, polypropylene. I don't know what swath stands for, 2 different types of cotton. What is fascinating is these, in this area, a bandana is not that effective. And fleece, and you have to read the study to understand this, fleece is actually worse than wearing none at all, because for some reason, when an individual is using a fleece and is talking or sneezing, it takes the droplets, makes them smaller, and as a result, they last in the air significantly longer. This chart over here is simply showing by color the different categories. So the green is the unmasked total droplet count, and this is the droplet rate. The red is the bandana. The orange is the cotton 5, and it's hard to see, but the blue, the surgical, is almost straight across the bottom. Again, I would encourage you to take a look at that particular study. I also, if I can here, yep, and we're back. I want to note that last Friday, I was able to participate in a socially distanced graduation of the Berks Connections Pretrial Services R3 program. This is an amazing program that takes folks coming out of our jail and also coming through our treatment courts and trains them in the trades. We have been doing this program, and I'm looking at you, Kevin. It's either between 4 and 5 years. Am I correct on that?
I have to think it's pretty close to 5 years by now.
Yeah. And over that period of time, less than 10% of the individuals that have graduated from this program have ended up back in the criminal justice system. Our partners in this are Habitat for Humanity, Neighborhood Housing Services, and this was the first graduating class since last March before COVID.
I think Reading Muhlenberg Votech is still involved.
That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about them. Reading Muhlenberg Votech also is a big part of this. So I just want to say congratulations. There were a total of 8 graduates, and they had 2 different programs, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. They were over at the Doubletree. Again, everybody socially distanced. That way people were able to come out, family members were able to come out and to celebrate the graduation. But that's a great event. I was glad to be able to see us back there and celebrating individuals taking control of their life to change the past. One of the things that I shared with them is that if we're all honest, we all make mistakes, and we can all point to people, maybe even a company, that have been willing to give us second chances, even third chances. And I shared with the group that mistakes are opportunities to learn. One of them had posted a saying, the past does not define you. And I added to that, the past does not define you, but it can teach you. And what you're willing to learn can help redefine your future. With that, we'll turn it over to row officers. Are there any row officers that would like to make a comment? Hearing none, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mary Buer, and Mary will take us through the public comment.
Tammy Keener, Spring Township. This Black Lives Matter group is not for Black lives of the Martin Luther King time period, but it is an organized group of Marxists, fascists, and left-wing radicals set on destroying family values, divide our country, indoctrinate our children, and dissolve our religious beliefs that our constitutional republic was founded on by our founding fathers and God. It appears to me that some people do not know what it is truly about, and that it is for Black lives. What as commissioners are you doing to stop this and educate people on what the group really is? Adrian Jadick from Why I'm Missing. Dear Commissioner Leinbach, thank you for your advice regarding my comment from last week. I truly appreciate your input, and I wish to apologize if my analogy was too shocking for the setting. For more than a year, and together with my neighbor, who is also first-generation immigrant, we've been trying to ask the Why I'm Missing Council to investigate police abuse. Our efforts have been proven as fruitless as trying to deal with an authoritarian government. Why I'm Missing is a small community who has its own police force. Many residents are very rich and powerful, and preferential treatment is common practice. Trying to work with such a government is synonymous to submission. We are an honorable family who lived, worked, and raised children in several countries beyond our birthplace in Romania, including Germany and Canada, before moving to the US. Just as you were shocked hearing my analogy, we were also shocked when we saw the level of abuse of office from our local government. My comment was just a reflection of our frustration. So let me ask you a different question. What tools do citizens have in order to hold police accountable when all efforts to deal with the local government fail? Amanda Ackerman, Bethel Township. What is being done to get schools open? Schools need to be open. There is an entire group of children who are being shut out and denied the education and socialization of their peers. Special needs children are not suited for online Zoom type classrooms. They are being discriminated against by schools remained closed. Parents of special needs children are not being heard or considered in any of this. There are not many people outside of the public school system that have the qualifications to teach or care for a special needs child, and very few of these parents have the option of staying home with their children. Not to mention that some special needs children could have a hard time adapting to and trusting someone other than the teachers they have become used to. Stop marginalizing special needs students. Tell the teachers' unions to sit down and shut up. Children have the least chance of passing COVID to an adult. Open the schools. Saeed Ahmed of Why I'm Missing. According to Google, in 3 minutes, about 400 words can be read at a normal speaking rate. What follows is about 300 words. The pandemic is still with us. Thus, mail-in voting is a safe option for most people. An automatic paper trail is created, and the load on poll workers is reduced. Moreover, when effectively executed, it has been shown to work in many states in previous elections. Given the recent widely publicized issues with the US mail system since the new Trump-appointed postmaster has taken over, a number of people have strong concerns about delays in mail-in voting. To mitigate this, would you concur that with these 4 steps? If not, why not? First, everyone should apply for a mail-in ballot, because you can choose to vote in person until the day your ballot is received by the County Board of Elections. Second, if you submit your ballot, but it is not received by Election Day, you may vote with a provisional ballot. Third, if you applied for a ballot, received it, but did not submit it, you may vote in person if you bring your mail-in ballot to be voided. Fourth, if you have not submitted your ballot by the third week in October, it is better to drop it off at a designated location to ensure it gets there if there are delays in mail delivery. Moreover, are you committed to providing sufficient drop-off locations to meet the need? Thank you for your help in ensuring all Berks County residents are able to safely exercise their right to vote. Beyond voting, U.S. mail is critical for many things, such as medication delivery. Have you initiated any discussions with relevant federal authorities to try and do what you can, even outside your purview, to ensure Berks County residents don't encounter delays in critical postal items? Christopher Ellis, Reading. What can you do to ensure that a train to Reading is kept in publicly owned and run hands so its management and service is accountable to the public at large? I would suggest that this is one of the most important aspects of public transportation, keeping it in public hands. Louise Grimm, why I'm missing. Dear Commissioners, thank you for your recent press conference reiterating the importance of remaining vigilant about mitigating the virus spread. Your leadership is important to our community, and reminding people to wear masks and distancing, avoiding crowds and indoor venues as much as possible is critical. I am reposting a question that was not answered last week. As co-coordinator of the former Berks County Pandemic Advisory Council, I would like to know what is being done to prepare for the vaccine distribution issues, as a lot of people would be interested in how we are preparing for this next step. Since Trump administration has pretty much sidelined the experts at the CDC and left the management of the pandemic to state and local officials, what are you planning to do to get ready for the distribution of vaccine in our community when the time comes? Have you given any thought as to how you will prioritize the distribution? Will you have several distribution points? Who will administer the vaccine? What will you do to make sure there are enough doses to vaccinate all who desire vaccination? Who will be responsible for coordinating security if necessary? Now is the time for our communities to prepare for the next step so that everything goes as smoothly as possible. A county health department would greatly benefit us all. Please reconsider your refusal to establish such a department. Our health is the most important asset we possess. Help us to maintain it. Elizabeth Schmoyer from Heidelberg Township. Since many schools will be virtual in September, is the county doing anything to help those students who do not have access to internet? I myself do not have access to internet without my hotspot. Suggestion, could you put a hotspot on the bus and each day drive the bus to an area without internet access? Tobias Rhodes, Reading. Commissioners, I read with interest your comments about us, in quotes, commenters in Karen Shuey's article in the Reading Eagle, and frankly, I'm disappointed. Those of us who show up here week after week are your constituents, and we are doing the basic work of democracy and holding you accountable. Do not patronize us by saying we only do this to annoy you, and do not insult us by calling us uninformed or dishonest. Trust me, I for one would gladly do other things on a Thursday morning, and I'm fairly certain everyone else would too. We are holding you accountable, and as elected officials, you should welcome our voices. As for asking the same question multiple times, may I remind you that the world is changing even if you are not. The coronavirus pandemic, for example, is not going away. And in fact, the positivity rate in Berks keeps climbing. That simple fact is enough to propel me and others to keep asking about how you are keeping us safe and what you're doing about the detention center, where with each passing day, the risks grow higher for the families incarcerated there. So again, I ask, how can you continue to preside over the cruel, immoral, and illegal detention of men, women, and children in a congregate setting during a pandemic? Also, point of fact, Commissioner Rivera, there is not one person in the detention center, not one, who has been there fewer than 20 days. It's time you face the reality of the situation. Linda Brancadora, Bern Township. I want to address the issue of mail-in ballots, not absentee ballots, which I know are necessary for a few. I recently saw a report that there are thousands of people on the voter registration that have not voted in years, and also some that have moved and also deceased, which all should be removed from the registrar book. Now a ballot will be sent to these people, and knowing human nature, if someone receives a ballot not belonging to them, some will fill it out and mail it in, or it could be cast aside. Someone else could get it and mail it in. Fraud. I know the election services probably does not have the manpower to check each individual entry, but they should. That is why I strongly support voter ID. It's the only true way to know that fraud is limited. Amy Levengood, Amity Township. With present concerns such as COVID-19 and disruptions in the USPS, it's more important than ever that we do everything we can to help make sure eligible voters in Berks have access to the ballot. A recent Inquiry article entitled "Philly and the Suburbs Want to Set Up Extra Election Offices for a New Kind of Early Voting" detailed how Philadelphia and some of its suburbs are creating satellite election offices where voters could request and submit a mail ballot on the spot. As quoted from the article, these election officers would allow voters to bypass the various logistical challenges of voting by mail or at the polls, and also make it easier to avoid election day crowds while the pandemic has raised fears about traditional in-person voting. Neighboring counties like Montgomery and Delaware have already planned to set up a number of these sites. Have the Berks commissioners looked into doing the same? Sherry Cameron, Center Township. Back in February, there was a write-up in the Reading Eagle on the top 5 litter items thrown on Pennsylvania roads. The article included a picture of trash along the ramp from Lancaster Avenue to the West Shore bypass. Recommendations found on the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection website include developing litter education and an outreach campaign, developing partnerships, providing assistance to local communities, and reviewing effectiveness of litter ordinances, laws, and statutes, reviewing enforcement of litter regulations, conducting future litter research studies, and evaluating anti-litter funding mechanisms. What is your vision for cleaning up the roads surrounding Berks and in Reading and in Berks County? Of the recommendations by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, which are being implemented here in Berks County. Jane Palmer, Wyomissing. I'd like to share with you my recent experience with COVID testing in Berks. A week ago Saturday, I did not feel at all well. I had aches, nausea, and abdominal pain, and my doctor, who I'm lucky enough to be able to reach on a Saturday, urged me to get a COVID test. Excuse me. But where? Reading Hospital does not offer testing, so I tried Patient First, which I had heard did do testing. but not on Saturday. I was informed I would have to call back on Monday to schedule a test, which would probably be for Wednesday. Alternatively, I could wait to see a doctor in hopes they would write a script. I could then take that to St. Joe's. I waited and meanwhile felt sicker and sicker. Eventually, I was diagnosed with acute appendicitis and sent to the Reading Emergency Department. 2 days, one prolonged fever of over 104, and one appendectomy later, I was discharged from the hospital, never having been tested for COVID because they said there weren't enough tests. In the interval, more than 50 new cases were reported in Berks County. All of this is to underscore the pitiful fact that we still do not have universal testing or contact tracing in Berks, and therefore have no real idea how many cases we have. We are flying blind. I appreciate your recent push for mask wearing, but it's not even close to being enough. What will it take for us to have a proper Berks County Health Department? Becky Ellis, Reading, PA. Good morning. I am writing this comment on the evening of Monday, August 10, 2020 at 10:30 p.m. as a school board director and part of the joint school committee for the Reading-Muhlenberg Career and Technology Center. I just voted no on the reopening plan for Reading-Muhlenberg Career and Technology Center due to the lack of definitive plan for the teachers as they return to school to virtually teach students from their classrooms. A few hours after my vote, I was informed of the Hamburg School Board's decision to allow full face-to-face reopening. As a graduate of the Hamburg Area School District, I am fearful for the students, teachers, support staff, administration, and residents who must now bear the burden of partisan decisions that are not being made in the name of science and safety, but instead in the name of party. Educators and students desperately need the Berks County Commissioners to take a stance like they did with Berks County Parks and Recreation and demand that the schools in Berks County remain closed to teachers and students and that instruction be 100% online. Our community safety must never be a partisan issue. And Commissioner Leinbach, I believe that you said those exact words during last week's Berks County Parks and Recreational meeting. When I asked about the 3 parks event coordinators that were laid off and why, I was told that all events for Berks County Parks and Recreation were canceled for the remainder of 2020 in the interest of public safety. When I questioned why hikes and other outdoor events were canceled when they could easily be conducted with social distancing, it was stated by you, Commissioner Leinbach, that we were dealing with a worldwide pandemic and decisions were being made by the commissioners in the best interest of the staff at Berks Park and Recreation. They were made in the best interest of the staff. Berks Parks and Recreation was to set an example for the county as for how to prevent the spread of COVID-19, which is why all programming has been canceled and 3 employees laid off. When I countered about the reopening of schools in our county and that they would contain more than 25 people, you pointed out then that Antietam and Exeter school districts had just announced full virtual classes and that you were hopeful that other schools would follow suit. Other schools have not followed suit, as Hamburg has demonstrated, and there are other schools mandating that teachers return to teach virtually, but still risk exposure to the virus. I urge you in the name of public safety to ask all Berks County schools go 100% online, teachers included. Thank you. Crystal Kowalski, why I'm missing. Good morning, Commissioners. In response to persistent public protest over systemic racism and police brutality, we are hearing calls to trust the system and wait for justice to take place. The question is, how long should people be expected to wait? 57 years ago, on April 16, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a long letter from a Birmingham jail cell to his fellow clergymen dealing with this question. Here is an excerpt that has to do with waiting for justice. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. As a country, we should be embarrassed that Martin Luther King Jr.'s words from 57 years ago are still extremely pertinent. People are tired of waiting and pleading for a justice that should have long ago been enshrined in law and practice. What is coming to light in the ongoing protests is a mass understanding that the problem is systemic. The people who have long been abused need justice now. Thank you. Jess Royer, Spring Township. As you have all made clear to the public, mail-in voting is legitimate and secure and serves as a great way for those voters who don't want to use a shared voting machine to fulfill their civic duty. Since the Elections Board has declined to establish drop box besides the one at the County Services Building, I would like to see the acceptance of mail-in ballots at polling places on Election Day. Though voters would still need to come to the polling place, they wouldn't need to wait in line or worry about their ballot not arriving in time to be counted. Poll workers are already trained and appointed to ensure the integrity of the elections process. And this would assuage the fears of those who have expressed a mistrust of the mail-in voting process, however unfounded those fears may be. In response to a comment by another attendee at this meeting, the Black Lives Matter movement is only necessary because of the horrible legacies of slavery, systemic racism, and mistreatment of communities of color, many of which unfortunately come from the founding fathers that were invoked by the commenter. I would encourage anyone who feels threatened by the Black Lives movement to look inward and question whether they truly live the principles they espouse. And I believe that is the end to the comments to the meeting.
Okay, we will close public comment at this time. And we have an echo here somewhere, so I'm not sure what's causing that. There, it went away. Do my colleagues have any comments they'd like to share?
I do, but I usually go first. So I thought maybe out of courtesy, one of the two of you would like to go first. Because last week, Michael said I answer all his questions, so maybe he wants to go first.
Well, actually, today I have no comments, so sorry.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
trying to be courteous.
Yeah.
So I'll jump in first, Commissioner Barnhart. These are in no particular order. Question, and I've heard this several times. Is there an issue relative to voting with the voter registration list? There is, but it has to do not with ballots going out. It has to do with the fact that under current law, a person can be on the list up to 8 years without voting. So you have people that potentially have died, potentially have moved, that are still on the list. The only way that impacts the system is one, through voter registration drives, organizations that secure the voter list often are sending out applications to either change their vote or to register, they change their party to people that no longer live there, people that are no longer alive. We hear about that from time to time. And it is also true when it comes to efforts by both parties to send out applications, whether for absentee ballots or for mail-in ballots. I've already received last week an application from the Republican Party recommending to me to fill out a mail-in ballot for Election Day. However, the list has nothing to do with the county sending out ballots to anyone. In order to get either an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, an individual must apply. They must fill out an application. And there are 3 security checks that come into play: driver's license, Social Security, or signature for everyone, and a driver's license or Social Security as well. If any one of those 3 don't match what we have on record, the application is not approved. That is the security of the system. There's no different rule for absentee or mail-in. So there's no way you received a ballot at your home. It's not possible. In order for a ballot to go out, an application must have been received. It must have been checked against one of those, not one of those methods, all of them by signature, and depending whether a person has a driver's license or not, or and then Social Security. So I continue to hear that issue. I'm not aware of any case where ballots from Berks County went out to the public. And Commissioner, if I say something that you think is incorrect, jump in. I don't have a problem. Commissioner Barnhart chairs the elections board.
So
Another
far,
issue. What's that?
So far, so good.
Okay. Another issue is the drop-off box. I want to highlight something. Berks County has filed to be withdrawn from the Trump litigation against counties here in Berks County. And the reason we filed is because we are not in violation of any of the issues that have been raised. The idea of putting a drop box out in an area that is not secure is something we have discussed and we're not willing to do. Let me see, I think that's all I have on elections. Louise Grimm brought up again the issue of vaccines. What I can tell you right now, Louise, is that we are in ongoing discussions with the Pennsylvania Department of Health in discussing what, how, and potentially when vaccines may be available to the County of Berks, how they would be distributed, Our Department of Emergency Services is having those communications. We're not prepared to discuss anything other than share with you that we are having discussions at this point in time. We don't have any of the granular detail that you're requesting at this point in time. Passenger rail service. Chris, I don't know if you've seen the articles, but the only thing that's on the table right now is a publicly owned system. The recommendation is that an authority would be created, either a 2-county or 3-county authority. If it was 2-county, it would be Berks and Montgomery County. If it was 3, it would be Berks, Montgomery, and Chester County. I'm not sure there is a viable option for a private system. Again, the study that's been done right now has nothing to do with a privately run system. Becky Ellis, again, Becky sits on our Parks and Rec Board and brought up this discussion a week or so ago at a Park and Rec meeting. What I said at that meeting relative to schools was that each school superintendent, school board, parent, etc., are going to have to make the decision that is best for their school. There are multiple schools since we had that meeting that have gone virtual. However, I want to share a conversation we had this would have been Monday with the task force for the County Commissioners Association that I sit on, statewide task force. We had our Monday call with Pennsylvania Department of Health and the governor's staff, as well as one of the deputy secretaries of the Department of Education. This is what he shared. He said there are serious concerns in the Department of Education when it comes to virtual education for elementary school students, and that in many scenarios they are looking at virtual classes for high school, and then the rooms that are freed up for those high school students can allow for socially distanced elementary school classes. Additionally, on that call, the issue of special needs children were raised. The agreement seems pretty consistent that virtual education for special needs is a disaster. They need that contact with a person, and the Pennsylvania Department of Education appears to be extremely aware of that. The difference between the commissioner's role with Parks and Rec and the commissioner's role, or lack thereof, with the 18 school districts here in Berks County is that we are responsible for the Parks and Rec Department. Those are county employees, and we have to make the decisions. We are not the ones making the decisions for the school districts. We participated probably 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, on a Berks County Intermediate Unit call with most, if not all, of the school superintendents to share information on what we were aware of. Dr. Jill Hackman, head of BCIU, set that meeting up. And the school district superintendents let us know that they appreciated, the input that we provided as commissioners. I believe Brian Gottschall from DES was on that call and also provided input. It's one thing to provide input, but I am not going to tell a school district what they should or shouldn't do. And if you remember, you asked Becky for us to give direction for the Reading School District, and I said very pointedly, that's not our role. That's a decision for the school district. I wouldn't want somebody from another county or another area of local government telling me you must do this when they have no authority. I'm not going to tell a school district what they should or should not do. And one of the main reasons is they should know their student body better than anybody else. They should understand the challenges, excuse me, that they may be facing. Access to broadband is one of those challenges that cannot be simply fixed by saying, oh, we're going to spend $10 million and bring broadband to everyone. I just pulled that number out of my hat. Broadband is an issue. Schools are going to know much better what the access issues are. I know I'm missing some of these. Jane Palmer, I don't know what to say to you. You've been on a lot of these calls, but we do have contact tracing, Jane. We've had contact tracing. In fact, the entire Commonwealth has had contact tracing, and they've had it for decades. The Department of Health of Pennsylvania provides the contact tracing for all counties that don't have a local Department of Health. Just because a county has a local Department of Health doesn't mean that they don't have any issues that any other county is dealing with. And Commissioner Barnhart pointed that out several times. I'll reiterate it. Bucks County's advice several weeks ago to their school districts was, one, don't worry about social distancing. You can't do it, and masks are optional. Where's that come from? That came from their local Department of Health. I'm not real excited about that kind of advice in the environment that we are in. We're in a good position. You brought up the other issue, universal testing, and that a lot of people may not be aware. There is no universal testing, as far as I know, anywhere in the country. There are not enough tests, number one, but number two, there's a problem with universal testing, and it's simply this. If I go and get tested today, I have no symptoms, I'm tested, I come back clean. But tomorrow, while I'm waiting for the test result to come back, I come in close personal contact. Definition is within 6 feet or less for 15 minutes or more with somebody who's COVID positive, and I contract COVID-19, and I get my result the next day, says I'm negative, I'm clean, I'm good. And so I walk around for several days. Maybe I end up demonstrating symptoms and am tested again and find out I had it, but maybe I'm asymptomatic. Dr. Deborah Powell on our call a little over a week ago talked about the asymptomatic person, the old typhoid Mary scenario, that there are asymptomatic people when it comes to COVID-19. Universal testing doesn't fix that. I might also add, several people highlighted that our case count continues to go up, our positivity rate continues to go up. I showed you, and I show it every week, the case count has gone down over the most recent 7-day period. The cases per 100,000 have gone down over the most recent 7-day period. And the positivity rate has gone down almost 1% over the last 7-day period. So I've showed everyone where that information is. I will take a moment right now to, well, the dashboard is already up. Heather Berger from my IS department already posted that, and I think it's too late for me to publish. Maybe I can. Let me quick go up here, see if I can pull down the Duke University report and post it. No, I can't. because it's, because things are, well, I'll try it one more time, maybe. Yep, thank you, Heather. Heather opened it back up momentarily. So I just posted the link for everyone for the Duke University study on masking. So Commissioner Barnhart, that will be the last time you ask if somebody else wants to go before you. Commissioner
That's okay.
Barnhart.
That was only 15 minutes, but thank you. Not that I was trying. I want to kind of, do you hear that echo?
You're okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to encapsulate the questions about the election and the process.
You're
So
echoing.
many of you don't know that there are 2 lawsuits filed against the Commonwealth and the county, Trump and Trump's campaign and the Democrats, and they're still not even scheduled for arguments. So there are people out there who expect us to put these drop boxes out there. That's one of the contentions of the Trump campaign. And this harvesting that apparently took place in Philadelphia County, where people were driving by people's homes and picking up their mail-in ballots. I'm a pretty simple guy. If I apply for a mail-in ballot 50 days before the election, my intention should be, I'm going to fill that ballot out and mail it in, not leave it on my countertop until the day of the election and go, oh, I changed my mind and I'm going to walk this up to the polls. I just don't understand. If you're going to apply for a mail-in ballot, then apply and use it. Don't use it just in case, oh, I feel good today, I'm going to walk up to the polls. The issue of dropping them off at the polls, as far as the law is today, you need to drop that off and still vote in the machine. Now, there are people who would like to change that they become your post office, that you take them into the election precinct and drop them off. Then what's the purpose of picking up a mail-in ballot to start with? Why did you apply for it if your whole intent was to wait till that day and go to the poll and drop it off? I just don't get the logic in that. If you want to vote in person, vote in person. If you want to vote by mail-in ballot, which I have done in the primary, and I will continue to do so, because for me it's a convenience. I don't have to stand in line with people, and my vote is done. I turn mine back to 40. I got it weeks ahead of time, and I turned around and mailed it in. I just find this kind of interesting, where we're going to kind of hang on to this thing and decide at a moment's notice, oh, I got to go find a drop box somewhere. I am strongly against drop boxes. They can't be secure. Oh, they could be secure. Then we have to hire people, or we have to station deputy sheriffs in locations throughout the county for what? For the convenience of dropping off a mail-in ballot, then bring it into the election services or put it in the mail, just like I did. The concern about people getting ballots who are dead or moved or anything else, people don't get ballots. You apply for an application, as Commissioner Leinbach said, and yes, every entry is reviewed and approved by election services. They're a small group, but a very mighty group. They do a heck of a job. Right now, we're trying to employ 10 people who are able to work now until the end of the year to help with the influx of mail-in and absentee ballots. We're doing everything we can. We're not going to put these drop boxes everywhere else that somebody feels the convenience to drop off their mail-in ballot. You know, it's frustrating. The other thing, schools, and why aren't you providing hotspots or support for schools? I don't want to say this to be insulting, but people have to recognize we live in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The county commissioners do not have say-so or sway or control over the school districts. That's a independent school district responsibility and the Department of Education at the state. Now, I will comment that I was on a call yesterday with the GRCA, the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, and it must have been 200 people that were in school districts throughout the community. Not a single person brought up the lack of accessibility to broadband or internet access. Their big concern was not just daycare, but daycare for educators, people that work in the school district, where if their school opens up, either virtually, partial, or fully, where their kids are going to go for daycare. So we had, for a month, put out the community needs assessment and asked everyone in the community what their needs were related to COVID-19. We received 9 responses from educational institutions One asked for ability to increase the amount of laptops they have, and that was King's Academy. So I think we have gone out of our way to support BCIU and the school districts, and we have asked, and we have not received a critical need that we could expend CARES Act money to provide. And again, I know there's a lot of access issues in the rural areas, and there's also an inability to pay for it in the Reading area specifically. But we've asked, and we haven't received these requests that people think that there's this gap here. The one that I have to focus on the most is the trash on the bypasses. It infuriates me, and Commissioner Leinbach and Rivera will agree to this. A few months ago, I contacted PennDOT when we were really probably in April of the pandemic, April or early May, and asked, hey, since there's 1/3 less, or 1/3 of the cars are using the bypasses, they are absolutely filthy. Is there any way the PennDOT crews can go out and clean up? Well, at that point, I think half of their crew was laid off. I thought it'd be a nice idea with no cars going down the bypass or very little cars to pick up the trash. I drive by the same tires and cabinets and all these large pieces of debris along the bypass for weeks and weeks on end. PennDOT always has the explanation, we don't have the manpower. And I think to myself, at one point in the last 2 months, a PennDOT dump truck had to have driven by that tire 15 or 20 times and didn't stop, put the flashers on, pick the tire up. But I'm as frustrated as you are. I think the only public support we can get is for people to volunteer to adopt sections of the roadway. I know that has been very well done in many parts of our county. Maybe we just need to reemphasize that it's been basically groups that have organizations like the Parrot Heads and other organizations. They do cleanups on the bypasses. But I agree, when I drive around, and I haven't been out of Berks County since March, but when I've been in other jurisdictions, we have probably some of the filthiest roadways that I have seen in my travels. So again, that's a frustrating thing. Love to help the school districts if we could, but they haven't reached out and said there's a critical need for our school district to have broadband access or access to that. I'm assuming they've taken care of it within their own financial structure with the school taxes and what they raise in school taxes and the money they receive from the Commonwealth and a little bit they get from the federal government. I've said this time and time again, we're here to help people. So that's what we would like to do, but if the need's not there, the need's not there. So I hope I also captured everything about the elections, that it's something that has to have integrity, and what we're doing and what we plan to do still will have integrity. You see on our agenda today, we bought another high-speed scanner. The issue really during the primary was not the speed in which the ballots got scanned. It was the amount of time it takes to open up two different envelopes. The outer envelope and the security envelope really takes a lot of time. And again, we're going to try to have as many people here as possible who have been sworn in for that issue to help us move these ballots through. And I'm going to say it between now and November 3rd. If you think we're going to have final results election night, sorry. The primary, we were done, I believe it was midday Thursday. So if we can build up our forces, maybe that'll be a target we can have for the fall. I don't want to promise anything we can't deliver, but don't sit awake election night thinking that 100% of the ballots are going to be counted in Berks County. We've been on calls with the Election Reforms Committee with CCAP, and we're amazed that Northampton County and Allegheny County were done election night, and they say that they started counting at 7 o'clock that morning.
No way.
I don't want to disbelieve people, but I find it hard to believe that the second largest county in Pennsylvania was done election night counting all the mail-in ballots. I find it hard to believe, but that's what we're told, and that's what we have to hear. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart. Do we have anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned.